a handful of new laws will take effect here in Colorado on August 1st. Our 90s legal expert Whitney Traylor is here to break down those laws for us. It's on your birthday, new laws for your birthday.
That's right.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. You too.
All right, so thank you very much. Let's talk about some of the new employment-related laws, because there are several. Talk about those.
Yeah, there's a bunch of new employment-related laws that are going to in effect, but one of them that I think that a lot of people are really interested in is related to covenants not to compete, so non-compete clauses. Over the years, Colorado has gotten away from the non-compete. It's really discouraged here, so now they've actually added the practice of medicine. So doctors, dentists, nurse practitioners, those types of folks, even if they're highly paid, they cannot be bound to a non-compete. Importantly, also on the non-solicitation, because a lot of times they would leave and wouldn't be able to tell their patients. So now they're going to be able to tell the patients where they're going to go, which will be nice. So the patients, because many times the patient wants to stay with the doctor, so they'll be able to do that. So that's going into effect. Also, we have the family paid insurance, not the FMLA, that's the federal law, but we have a state insurance program that both the employer and employee pay into, and you get 12 weeks of paid leave. Well, now they've added an additional 12 weeks if there is inpatient care in a neonatal intensive care unit. So if you're taking care of a preemie in that case, you can get up to 24 weeks of paid leave. So that's going to be really helpful to folks.
Those are wonderful. Okay,
Yeah.
That's great for new parents. So some of the new laws are designed to protect survivors of domestic violence as well. Talk about those.
Yeah, there's a couple new laws that go into effect this month, coming up in August, and one of them is related to an unlawful detention, so when they're trying to evict. So if you're trying to evict someone who is a survivor of domestic violence, they have a lot more protection. So eviction's already fairly a difficult process, and it should be, because somebody's going to be, removed from their home forcefully. So there's a lot of protections, but now with the domestic violence, for example, if there's damage in the property and it's not the survivor's fault, they won't be on the hook for those damages. Also, if they haven't paid because of domestic violence related issues, they can only be they're limited to a month of that rent. So it gives a number of different protections in that regard. Also, as it relates to spousal maintenance, so if there's a divorce, so the courts use a list of factors when deciding spousal maintenance. They have, and they're bound by that list. Well, now they've added if they're a survivor of domestic violence. So if there were domestic violence in the past, in going back 5 years, they can actually consider that in determining spousal maintenance.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, though, because some of these new laws were passed last year. Why does it take so long for them to become implemented?
Right. So they'll actually say in the law when it will be effective. So sometimes it's 90 days. Sometimes these were passed last year and they're becoming effective this year. And a lot of the reason is because they want to give folks an opportunity to comply, particularly with these employment, because there's a number of wage and hour laws that have changed as well, and so people have to change their payroll process. So really the legislature is not trying to set people up for failure, they're trying to give them an opportunity to be able to comply with that.
Some of these new laws really seem like no-brainers. If someone says to you, why are so many laws? Do we need this many laws? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of folks who will complain, and when this is posted, the keyboard warriors come out and say, oh, this left-leaning Colorado. But really, the laws are really in response to what's happening in society. I mean, we have a representative democracy, so our legislature responds to, they represent a group of people, a part of the population, and they respond to things that need to be done. So a lot of times the law follows what we do. So for example, in 2008, when we had the mortgage bust, there were a bunch of mortgage lenders that were actually changing people's salaries so that they would qualify for this loan, saying they make more than they actually do. Well, then, of course, when the loan came due, people couldn't pay it. And so after that mortgage bust, we had 10 or 12 new laws related to that. You know, MCI WorldCom, when they did their fraudulent activity, we got Sarbanes-Oxley. So a lot of times these laws, you know, it's sort of like, well, okay, population, do the right thing and we won't need as many laws. And I'm a small business owner, so I know that compliance with a lot of these laws, there's a lot of regulations. It can make things, you know, abundantly difficult, but again, it's in response to what we're doing as citizens.
Well said. Well said. Happy early birthday. I hope you enjoy.
Thank you.
Whitney, thank you.